Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter World. Now, I'm doing this video because I received a couple of requests in previous videos that I did, and you guys wanted me to do a video that is a little bit more beginner friendly because I've been doing a lot of really specific stuff when it comes to Monster Hunter World, because I've pretty much been doing videos on Monster Hunter World since the game came out in January 26th this year. So it can get a little bit overwhelming for all those of you out there who are just getting started. So first and foremost, let's have a look at the options here, because I do feel that there are a couple of things that you guys might want to change. So first, if you are playing on the PC, you will definitely want to go into controls. And if you plan on using mouse and keyboard, go in there and just tweak everything out to the best of your ability, to the way that you think it's going to work out better for you. We're going to get a little bit more in depth with this further ahead, but basically, make sure that you customize this, because in my opinion, the default controls are not super intuitive, which is not a problem because they allow you to completely change everything around. So I'm sure that if you're someone that wants to play with keyboard and mouse, you will find a configuration that works for you. Now, me personally, it's just like, having played this game for over 1,000 hours, my muscle memory just dictates I gotta use a controller, okay? I tried using keyboard and mouse, and I couldn't even shoot a bow, okay? That's how bad it was. But that's just because I just have mega muscle memory for this, for the ridiculous amounts of hours that I've played. Anyway, under game settings, there's really not a whole lot that I would change. You can hide your helmet if you don't like it. Like, you can see that our helmet is ugly as sin, so I might just hide it. You also have an option to hide it only in cutscenes, which is pretty useful if you'd rather have your helmet when you're fighting, but then see the actual facial features of your character when there's a cutscene. So there's that. There's a control guide. This is important for you guys. You should keep this on. It will be on the top right-hand side. I will tell you guys when we get into the training area. I will tell you a little bit more about that. But something that I would go for is, in terms of sheath, this is going to be on auto. I would put it to manual, because automatic, what it's going to do is automatically going to sheath your weapon. And while it seems like an interesting feature at start, like when I started playing the game, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. It automatically sheaths. Just don't. Go for manual sheathing, okay? Trust me on that. Go for manual sheathing. Confirmation button, radial menu settings. This is important if you're using a controller. I don't think it's going to be as important, because the radial menu didn't seem particularly useful if you're using keyboard and mouse. But if you are using a controller, I would switch this to type 2. And I will explain to you guys why once we get into the training area. We're going to get into the training area soon enough. Don't you worry about that. Then in the camera, you guys can go over here and you can switch the camera distance to far if you want to. It gives you a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more visual of your surroundings. It's not too much. It's very minimal, so you don't have to. You can leave it on default. However, when it comes to camera style, they're going to put it on focus camera. And what focus camera does is it gives you a lock on, very much like Dark Souls, okay? So basically, whenever you lock onto a monster, you'll be running around and the camera is going to automatically turn to face the monster. You don't want to do this in Monster Hunter World, because there are a lot of environmental things that you can interact with, and if you're constantly looking at the monster, you're not going to be able to identify them. Like, sometimes you might run away from the monster in order to grab some kind of ammunition off the ground, shoot it. You might want to trigger a trap, and focus camera makes that a little bit hard. So the way that we do it in Monster Hunter, and the way that I would recommend you guys do it, is swap that over into target camera, because what that is going to do is it's going to allow you to tap a button, and when you tap a button, it will focus the monster once, but then it lets you continue and rotate the camera freely. And that is the way that I think you guys should do it. That is my personal opinion. You can do it with focus camera if you want to. I just think that Monster Hunter is a little bit more dynamic with the combat when it comes to that stuff. So there you go. Now, in terms of visuals, I've showed you guys all of the graphical options on the previous video. Now, I'm just going to give you guys a couple of advices here, which is, I talked about this in the previous video as well, which was volume rendering quality. This seems to be the biggest resource hog of all of the settings. And the interesting thing is that the game actually looks better with this thing off. Like, if you can see that I can set it to highest here. Let me just go ahead and confirm that. And you guys can see that there is a frame rate counter on the top left-hand side. And you'll notice that my frame rate just dipped to 30 something. and it's added this fog to the game. Now, it does make it look a little bit more realistic, but then again, we are playing a video game where there's a T-Rex that breathes fire, so, I mean, whether or not realism is important might vary a little bit for you. But if you really want that realism, you're just going to have to get a really beefy GPU. But notice how much this changes once I turn it off. Boom. Notice that instant gain into frame rate. Just like, boom, instantly. Now, you can swap a couple more things around here. I believe I turned something off. I turned off subsurface scattering to increase it even a little bit more. You can also swap your anti-aliasing to FXAA if you want to get a little bit more frames, but most of the other stuff does not have as much of an impact. There's also an option to have your resolution scaling variable and prioritize frame rate. If you really have like a really old GPU, you might want to do that. But ultimately with my GPU, I did not notice massive amounts of difference, so I kept it as it is right now. And you guys can see that the difference between having volumetric rendering was 33 frames, and now we're up to 60. So, you know, and again, I'm running this on a GTX 970. I'm going to leave a comment this time around on I'm going to have a pinned comment that's going to have my rig details all in there, because I know that a lot of you guys are going to want to know that. But anyways, let's go into the training ground, because I'm about to tell you one of the most important things when it comes to Monster Hunter. So, once you do the initial section of Monster Hunter, they're going to bring you over to Astera, which is where we are right now. And once you get to Astera, they're going to do a little tour with you, and once they're done with the tour, they're going to tell you, go to your room and get a weapon. That's what they're going to tell you. And once they tell you to go to your room and get a weapon, there's going to be a quest indicator here to come to your room. So we're going to come into our room. You can see the loading times in this are friggin' god tier. I'm running this on an SSD, so it's so sweet. Anyways, once you come into your room, you can come to your item box, and you'll be able to change your equipment around. And this is where they will tell you to pick your first weapon. As you can see, I'm currently using the hammer. Now, a very important thing is after you pick your weapon, you might be wondering, but is this really the right weapon for me? So my biggest tip for people that are starting out is definitely come over here to Housekeeper and tell the Housekeeper, hey dude, can you just take me to the training area? Boom. Make sure that you visit the training area in order to decide what weapon you want to use, okay? This is like one of the biggest things, because in here you can basically practice the moveset of any weapon. So say for instance, hey, I want to try out the hammer. And then you can come over here and you can start charging, and you can hit this thing. This is basically a training dummy. This has maximum weakness to everything, if I'm not mistaken. So basically it also lets you do like, if you want to test out how much damage a weapon does in comparison with other weapons. So you can basically come over here and play with your weapon of choice and try out different movesets. Now the other good thing about this is that they will also give you a standard combo for your weapon so that you can practice. So you can see that we got a triple Y combo right there. And I'm assuming if I swap over to mouse and keyboard, yep, you can see that. If you just swap over to mouse and keyboard, it will instantly change everything to the controls, and if you customize the controls, it will also help you, it will also automatically update those in here so that you can always see what you are doing. So again, great support for mouse and keyboard if that is something that you want to do. That's one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking me. People have also asked me if you can use an Xbox controller, and I was like, why wouldn't you? But anyway, you can come in here and there's a box in here, so it's like, you're like, okay, so the hammer, turns out it's not really for me. I'm more of a guy that maybe I want to try out dual blades. And there you go. You can just swap it in, and they will change the basic combo. They will tell you a couple of basic moves that you can do, and you can just have at it. And basically you can practice and figure out which weapon you like the most, okay? Now, besides this, if you actually go into the menu and you go into Hunter's Notes, there is also a weapon controls that will tell you everything you need to know about any weapon, like your basic attacks, your hammer, all of this stuff. It's all in the game. But even that is not like a perfect thing. Like, it will give you some concepts, but it's not really going to delve super deep into the weapons. Now, those are the kind of guides that I would advise you guys to check out. Either mine or someone else's. Eric's also has amazing guides for weapons. Now, I'm going to be linking my own my playlist. I just did a playlist for all of you guys that are starting out now. I did a playlist for all of my weapon guides. I don't have guides on bowguns or heavy bowguns because those are two weapons that I don't consider myself to be very proficient at. So rather than spread misinformation, I'd rather just let someone else tackle those. I do use those weapons, but I wouldn't consider myself to be very good with them. But every other weapon, I have tips for every single other weapon, the combos, the move sets, all of that stuff. It's all in that playlist that I linked. You guys might want to check that out. Anyways, this is the training ground, and it lets you do pretty much everything. Now, I told you guys about the wheel here. The way that this wheel works is you hold down your left bumper and then you use the right stick to select items. Now, I told you guys to swap this to mode 2. The reason is the way it's supposed to work, like, let me actually swap this over to mode 1 if you guys are curious to see how it works. So radial menu settings type 1, the way it works is you're supposed to flick your stick. So for instance, say you want to use that whetstone. See, as you let go of the stick, it will use the whetstone. Actually, let me get something that's faster. Well, I really don't have anything too fast. But basically, the idea of using weapon wheel type 1 is you rotate to something, and then you let go. And I've never found it to be particularly precise. Sometimes you might be in a panic, and you might be running around, you're just like, and it might not work out the way that you want, or you might hit the wrong thing. So, type 2... has a main difference that I find to be much, much better, which is, let me just swap this around. In type 2, instead of you going ahead and having to flick your controller to use items, you have to press down on your controller. So basically you pick whatever item you want, and then you click your right stick, and you will use the item. And in my opinion, this is a much better way of going about doing stuff. Now, another important thing is actually item sets and weapon sets. Now, this is gonna be something that is not super important when you're starting out, but as you start, using different weapon types and whatnot, you might wanna start having different sets for those different weapons. And the way that you do that is for your equipment. You're going to change equipment, and then you can press the start button. I don't know what's this button called on the controller. It's the small button on the right side, or I believe that on the keyboard it is escape. Yeah, on the keyboard it's escape, and on the controller it's the start button, basically what used to be the start button. So you press the start button, and then basically this is going to give you the chance to save the current set that you have. So at this point all I have to do is press Y, save equipment slot to this, and then say, for instance, if I were to go and I would swap equipment around, I put a bow in here, and I would change maybe this armor piece for something else. And then you can always go back to that equipment thing and load it up, and it will load everything that you had in that set. So like I said, at the start, it's not super important, but as you start experimenting with different weapons and different skills, you will want to pay attention to this. And then, beyond just the equipment itself, there's also a setting for that in your items. Now, these items are what you're going to take with you on a hunt, so you might want to create different loadouts so that whenever you come back from a hunt, you might have a bunch of stuff in your pack, and you're just like, nope, just get the loadout. And once you pick up that loadout, it automatically deposits everything that you're not using into your item box, which you're going to be getting real familiar with this item box as you play more and more. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, oh my god, this is so overwhelming, so many things that I gotta keep tabs of. Look at all the things that you can craft. I mean, just off the bat, there's 98 items right here. The only thing that you really gotta focus on for getting started is know how to craft mega potions, okay? Mega potions is potions plus honey. Potions are made from herbs, so make sure that you pick up plenty of herbs when you go out on quests, because that is going to be what crafts your potions. And also make sure to pick up a bunch of honey when you're out on quests, because that is what's going to allow you to craft mega potions. Mega potions, one of the most important things for you to have in the game, okay? And then you also have rations. Now rations, you have to actually cook them over here at the canteen, and basically you have to go here and do oven roast. And then you can just pick up, I'm going to exit tutorial here. I haven't done one on the PC yet. But you basically pick up raw meat. You give them a raw meat and they will give you a bunch of rations the next time that you come around. And you guys might be wondering, why are rations important? Well, rations essentially allow you to get more stamina. So let's actually get into an expedition. We're going to go out so that I can show you how you can get rations, because this is important, getting both potions and rations. And also you'll get to see a little bit of me killing stuff, which isn't too important in the grand scheme of things if you're just starting out. So, there's also going to be NPCs throughout the world. I haven't talked a whole lot about this. Basically, these guys are going to give you side quests. Those side quests are important. You should definitely do those side quests because they're going to give you advantages when you're out and about hunting. But anyways, these guys right here, they are the ones that will provide you with meat. We call them herbivores. In this particular case, it is an aptonoth. And you can basically come up here and you're going to kill it. This poor creature, he's just sitting here trying to drink his water, and you're going to come over here and you're going to kill it. And why is it important that you come over here and kill this creature? Because then you're going to carve him up and you're going to get some meat, okay? These are the guys that give you the raw meat that we just used in the oven rust back at Astera, right? And now you guys are going to say, okay, Rurikhan, we killed the creature, we took its meat, why are rations important? Well, notice our stamina gauge right there. You got a health gauge and you got a stamina gauge on the top left-hand side, and you'll notice that the stamina gauge is considerably small. Now, if we use a ration, stamina increases. If we use another ration, stamina increases again. Now notice that there's a little white marker at the end of it. That means that we're currently at our maximum stamina. Now the importance of this is because over time in your hunts, depending on how long you take to actually complete a hunt, your stamina is going to decrease. Because, you know, time goes over, your hunter gets tired, so your stamina will decrease over time. And therefore, you will want to make sure that you have rations with you to make sure that you can get your stamina back up. Because otherwise, if you can't get your stamina back up, then you're going to have less stamina to use. And in the special case of the hammer, notice that whenever I charge up my attacks, stamina actually goes down. Okay? So you'll want to make sure that you have as much stamina as possible with every hunt. Now, usually this is covered by you eating at the start of a hunt. And then it only really becomes a problem if you stay in a hunt long enough. Now let's talk about food, shall we? Okay, so over here on the canteen is where we had our rations made previously, and now that we've came back from a hunt, we can basically take those rations, and they will give us the rations because we gave them meat, right? Now, another very important thing is before every hunt, you always want to make sure that you eat, because this is going to increase the stamina like I showed you guys. This is going to max out your stamina before every hunt, so you just come over here. You can either do a custom platter if you want to. I'm not going to go too in-depth about the food. If you don't want to bother too much with it, just take the Chef's Choice platter to begin with. However, over time you should definitely learn the ins and outs of how food works. I do have a video talking about this specific topic. I'll put it up on the right hand side right now so that you guys can go check it out. And basically at this point, I would just say, it's like, look, with all the things that I just told you, you need to go out there and you need to explore. You need to play the game for yourself. Don't spend too much time looking at guides that are going to teach you every single thing about the game, because a big part of this game is learning. Learning about the monsters, experiencing the monsters firsthand, having fun, enjoying the journey. And then once you get further up ahead, once you actually start getting into high rank, and once you start getting into the harder hunts, once you actually begin to struggle a little bit with the game, then you should go and you should start looking up guides, okay? But for now, if you're just getting started, the important thing is get out there and get hunting, okay? But like I said, when you get to those maybe more advanced mechanics, maybe you mounted the monster for the first time and you're like, holy crap, I mounted the monster. How does that work? How do I do this little mounting minigame, which is not that complex, but I also have a video on that. So anything that you can even think of, you can go to my channel and you can look up that mechanic, and most likely there will be a video talking about that. And once you get to the really hard stuff, once they release Arch-Tempered monsters onto the PC and that kind of stuff, you can look up my Arch-Tempered monster builds as well as my Arch-Tempered monster guides, because all of that stuff is already done, okay? But for now, like I said, go to the training grounds, pick your weapon. Specialize on a weapon first and go look at the guide for that specific weapon, and then get out there and get hunting. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys enjoy my videos, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you actually receive notifications. Leave a like if you enjoyed this particular video. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching. 2 video suggestions that are going to show up on screen right about now that you guys can go check out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.